How's it going, everybody? ChaoticMeatball here, and welcome back to the channel, and to my attempts at a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire using a single Latias. To see the rules, they're in the description as always, but boy, is Latias such an interesting legendary stat-wise. At a base 600, it's rather low on the totem pole of legendaries, equivalent to a pseudo or a mythical, and Latias' highest stat happens to be a base 130 special defense. Sure, a base 110 speed and base 110 special attack still puts it in a prime position to specially sweep the entire game, especially with access to moves like Dragon Breath, Mist Ball, and Psychic by level up, as well as Dragon Claw, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, and Surf by TM and HM, but it is somewhat strange to see it be such a defensive tank. Even in the physical department, base 90 defense comes up higher than the base 80 attack, with a base 80 HP rounding out the set. I think this puts Latias in a great position to be able to solo any Pokemon game, as taking hits and dishing out damage is the name of the game. And for the cherry on top of this sundae, I've got access to Wish from the starting gate at level 5, Safeguard at level 15 to prevent status, and Recover at level 45 to give me a faster way of recovering HP. Heck, Latias even gets Charm at level 50, so if I'm going against a heavy physical attacker and don't feel like that the base 90 defense is enough, Charm could potentially help out in the late game. But enough talking, let's put these ideas into practice. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, a small click for you is a huge help to me. Like the video if you haven't as well, let's aim for 2,500 likes on today's Legendary Nuzlocke, and let's begin. So the starter I decided to replace here was Torchic. I figured that all of these Pokemon are going to have a pretty nasty weakness to Latias at some point, as Combusken will be part fighting and Grovyle will get blown away by an Ice Beam, but Marshtomp is the only one that I don't have a proper super effective move for. Sure, Solar Beam is eventually obtainable, but I don't want a 2-turn move for a stupid mid-level evolution that's never going to hit the final. However, a problem quickly arises once I pick Latias, and that's its only access to an attack is Psywave, a move that A, can't hit the beginning Poochyena, and while yes, this thing only knows Tackle and I can outlast it by using Wish and wasting the power points of Psywave, this is a sign of things to come. After KOing Maze Mudkip with a little over half HP to spare, then EV training on level 2 Zigzagoons on Route 101 to get as much as I can, I'm once again in the predicament against a level 9 Poochyena in the Petalburg Woods, but this one has Howl. Howl means that he can eventually get to plus 6 attack, and while yes, a Poochyena is not going to do that much damage to a Latias, especially one that's 5 levels higher than itself, that doesn't mean that plus 6 isn't going to help it a bunch. Sand attack is also a problem since I can't rely on being able to KO it after I've run out of power points. Struggle has accuracy, and I've got to hit that too. Thankfully though, after probably 10 minutes of real time, Poochyena runs out of tackle points right as soon as I run out of power points in Latias' entire moveset, eventually coming out on top with Struggle. Whew, oh, what an effort to go through for just a Team Magma Grunt. Thankfully, once we get an attacking move in Dragon Breath at level 20 though, things will go a lot smoother. All this leaves is Roxanne to take down after edging up with the last needed speed EVs and some special attack EVs from level 4 Ralts on Route 102, with her leading Geodude as I go straight for Psywave. It only does a third as Rock Tomb does 12 damage, so I go for a second that brings her down into the red as a defense curl is used, following up with a potion as I use Wish during the same turn. I Psywave once more for half damage as Wish heals, but another potion thwarts my plans to KO. It takes 3 more Psywaves to take her down as Latias remains at full HP with Nosepass at the ready. I've got 9 power points of Psywave left to take her down, and having gotten through her 2 potions, this doesn't end up being a problem, as one Psywave does just slightly under half, one does minimum damage it could possibly do, leaving the third time to be the charm, KOing after a Rock Tomb connects to win the fight. Psywave is such a weird move when it comes to the way damage is calculated. I talk about it more in detail, but the equation that I hopefully have on screen thanks to my editor is a little too hard for me to try calculating after having dumped most of the needless information I got from high school. Not long after comes the trip to Dewford, but man, is this Team Magma Grunt just not leaving me alone. The third and final fight before getting another attacking move is the most difficult of them all, as level 11 may not be much higher, but I'm much dumber and I accidentally misclick Wish twice during this fight. wasting precious power points that could have gotten me out of a tough situation, not to mention all of the critical hits that Poochyena kept pulling out of his hiney. It was quite the frustrating romp, but eventually, thanks to an early activation of an Oranberry, I had just enough HP to survive through his tackles, draining the remainder of my power points and KOing with struggle, but not with much left in the tank. Thankfully, I won't have to do that again, but boy howdy is Psywave the most garbage move I've ever had to deal with. When it can function, it's 85% accurate and barely does any damage, but when it doesn't function, I have to run out the clock. Thank goodness, I can get Psychic in Mauville, so we're close. After a quick boat tour of routes 105 and 106, I'm able to head straight into Brawly's gym, taking out his one required trainer before the fight begins. He leads off with Machop, so I'm going, Psywave, and another quirk of Psywave is that it doesn't hit for super effective damage. Yeah, you thought that I was gonna get off easy, but no sir, that's not allowed to happen until Latias learns a competent attacking move. Because of this, I've got to run through a barrage of seismic tosses that do nearly a third to Latias on every turn, so I spend time alternating that and Psywave in the attempt to KO Machop, but Psywave just keeps getting very close, and then Brawly burns through a super potion. This happens twice, all while he sets up bulk ups here and there, eventually letting me KO Machop on the 12th Psywave. It took 12 of these suckers to finally put him down. So what do we do about this Makita? Hope and pray, or lose. That's basically our options. I still have a few wish points left, so I'm able to get to full after one comes true on entry, then the second one comes down as he sets up bulk up. By the point I've landed the weakest Psywave ever, a pretty acceptable one that brings him around to a third, but Sand Attack lands, lowering Psywave even more than it already is at the base 85% accuracy, but I go for this third one anyway. Landing, but does it KO? Yes, it does, winning me the fight with just enough points in the bag. Thankfully though, this was something I had accounted for with my held item. Route 104 had Lepa berries available. So just holding one of those increased my potential uses of Psywave from 15 to 25, plenty enough to account for a problem like this. After retrieving the TM for Steel Wing from Steven, we've got a little trolling to do over in Slateport. Thankfully, I've gained access to a level cap that gives me enough to get an attacking move, so I can finally start using Dragon Breath on these stupid dark types. I don't think I really need to talk about them anymore because of it, so let's go ahead and move on to the rival fight on Route 110. May's got 3 Pokemon, one of which being Shroomish, and I've got to make sure to get through that quickly. Thankfully, I hold a Cherry Berry here, two-shotting with Dragon Breath and curing paralysis from Stun Spore throughout, leading to Numel, who instantly falls to a Dragon Breath. Last out is Marshtomp, who takes a little over half from Dragon Breath, but thanks to wasting a turn with Bide, I'm able to pick up the KO with the second one to win the match. Finally, an attacking move that functions. It feels so good to be able to take out boss fights and not have to, sit there until all my power points are gone. Speaking of functional attacking moves though, once I take out Wally in Mauville City, I'm able to take out the gym trainers, but more importantly for prep against Watson, I can get the TM for Psychic out of the game corner. This is perfect. We should be completely safe from here. Magnemite's out first, and I do half with Psychic before Thunder Wave hits, which is negated thanks to a Cherry Berry, but then I realize, wait a second, I have Safeguard. I should just use that, and then go ahead and use it as it goes for Thunder Wave again, KOing next turn with the second Psychic as Voltorb enters. Psychic's a one-shot here, leaving just Magneton, and with this, I don't know how the AI of Gen 3 is programmed, but this Magneton just kept going for Thunder Wave over and 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 over again, incessantly, to the point where I'm just like, what the f*** are you doing? This is like a Yu-Gi-Oh player who doesn't know how to read cards and keeps targeting a monster that's unaffected by card effects, only to ask, why the monster no die? So I just take advantage of this dumb old man by repeatedly using Psychic and Dragon Breath, only taking a pause to set up Safeguard once it runs out, eventually KOing and winning the match. Well, that was sure an oddity if I've ever seen one. If anyone knows more about the Gen 3 AI and why they prioritize status effects despite there being an effect on field that negates status effects, I would love to know. Now, of course, there's quite a trek between Mauville and our 4th gym badge over in Laveridge Town. But sadly, there's not much of a level cap jump throughout, so I had to ensure I went through routes as effectively as possible, dodging optional trainers wherever I could before making it into Fall Arbor, doing the same on Route 14 to chase Team Magma over to Mount Chimney for a showdown against their leader Maxie. Now of course this rat bastard has a Mightyena, and I don't have the strongest of non-psychic type moves. Plus he has swagger, so we might be in for a little world of hurt depending on what he ends up going for as he leads with it. I'm going for Psychic since I'm a dum-dum and thought he led with a different Pokemon, despite what clearly is to be a dark type against me. He uses Bite for a little over a quarter, so no problem, let's just shift to Dragon Breath and get rewarded by paralyzing him. We love getting rewarded for being stupid! He uses Sand Attack, getting me to -1 accuracy and using Bite as I go for Wish, getting me back to full HP after KOing with a second Dragon Breath leading to Golbat. Now that's the mon I thought he led with, one-shotting with Psychic as Camerups outlast. He's only got one chance to fire off an attack here as Psychic's gonna heal lock him, and he goes for Magnitude, landing the highest power of 10, oh shit! Oh shit, yes you dumb f***ing moron, I have Levitate and win the match after a few more Psychics, after he aimlessly tries to heal with Super Potions to make up for the fact that he's a big dum-dum. Maybe do some more research into what's immune to what type, you dummy. Then again, I made the same mistake, so who am I to talk? Anyway, I'm finally able to engage into the fight against Flannery afterwards, and she leads off with Slugma, so I'm going for Dragon Breath to nearly KO, getting the paralysis as she goes for Smog, so I go for another as she heals with a Hyper Potion, getting a critical. Now, you may be wondering why I'm not going for that one-shot with Psychic, and that's because I want to drain that Hyper Potion before she gets out the Torkoal. I have a minuscule chance of not two-shotting with Psychic thanks to ranges, and I don't think I survive if she uses said Hyper Potion on Torkoal, but I do use Psychic on the second Slugma to one-shot as Torkoal comes out last. Of course though, she gets a critical Body Slam that paralyzes after I do half damage with Psychic, and while I can take another Body Slam thankfully, if I don't land a Psychic here, I lose. And after Body Slam lands and drags Latias down to 6 HP, I'm able to pull through with Paralysis, KOing with a second one to win the fight. Okay, well that was a little bit too close. Maybe should have held a Cherry Berry or used Safeguard here, but I'm noticing I undervalue support moves like that. I still have it on the moveset at this point, probably should have used it, but hey, I still won, so I'm going to continue to throw for content until I'm severely punished and never do it again. After a bit of a long trek that involves me getting the HM for strength, I'm finally back in Petalburg City and ready to throw down with Norman for the balance badge. Speaking of that trek though, wow does Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire just completely fix this stupid thing, instantly transporting you there thanks to May, and that game does a really good job of streamlining Hoenn in general, despite people having a bias for it exclusively due to the lack of the battle frontier. I'll at least give them credit for making a remix of the Frontier Brain battle theme in that game, and using it for the reused Battle Chatelaine from X and Y. They didn't even remix the Frontier Brain theme from Platinum for Palmer and BDSP, and I'm still very salty about that. Salt aside, Norman's leading off with Slacking, and I'm going straight for Safeguard. I do not want to get statused, and I know I can get away with getting a two-shot with Psychic thanks to Truant, though I probably make the wrong play by KOing on a Truant turn and going into Vigoroth with half HP. I use another Wish, getting brought down to 2 HP off of 2 slashes that fortunately don't get crits, setting up another Wish as he's healed, getting back up to 3/4 HP and using another Wish as he heals yet again, using Slash to get Latias down to half, but with the Wish it heals me fully and allows for one more Psychic to KO and leave just the second Slacking. I know that I can't take chances with him. This one has Focus Punch, and while I do resist it, I'd rather him not be able to ever land it and test the waters. In order to prevent a healing item though, I go ahead and use Psychic, taking a Facade for slightly over half, Dragon Breath on the Truant turn, finally culminating with a Psychic that outspeeds, KOing and winning this super close fight. Looking back, I probably should have started with Wish, then used Safeguard on the second turn so that I could heal up whatever damage the first Slacking did, then used Wish on the third turn, then an attack, then doing that cycle once more to KO that Slacking and go into Vigoroth with a full bar of HP, but these are things you only realize with hindsight. These are not things that you catch while you're just sitting there planning your fights because your brain doesn't pick it up. At least mine doesn't. My brain never picks up this shit. So with the power of Surf in my hands, it's time to cross the water between Mauville and Route 119, heading up north to the Weather Institute to kick the bums of Team Magma for causing me so much grief in the early game, though I think I'll equally blame Latias for that, and for a rival battle shortly thereafter. She's leading with Breloom, so I'm going straight for Psychic, one-shotting the bugger that should be a Breloom, as Numel comes out, falling to the same fate, but with a critical to rub salt in the wound. Third out is Marshtomp, and wouldn't you know it, Psychic's a 2-shot after a takedown does a quarter damage, but I changed it up, using Dragon Breath as the second hit to KO, just to say that I took a little more effort in beating this battle than it really needed. They really did the rival dirty in Gen 3, didn't they? Yet another thing Oros did correctly in giving the rival the final evolution of the starter in Lily Cove, while also giving you that post-game battle between the champion and the Delta episode. Anyway, with the Devon scope in hand, I'm ready to fight Winona, as I've gotten the TM for Thunderbolt thanks to the new Mauville side quest. Cheaper than getting the one from the game corner after all. She leads off with Swellow, so I go with Thunderbolt, getting the one-shot instantly as Altaria comes out second. Of course, Dragon Breath is the best course of action, paralyzing on the first shot as he wastes time with Dragon Dance, not getting her speed up enough to do any damage before going down to a second, leading to Pelipper. No Protect this go around, so I'm able to just hit a quadruple effective Thunderbolt, KOing and leaving just Skarmory to fall to a Thunderbolt as well. Thank goodness this isn't a Gen 5 or beyond game, or else Sturdy would have actually done something well. Despite the large jump in level cap between Gym 6 and 7, there's really not much to talk about. You've got Route 120, Mount Pyre, then Lily Cove City with a rival fight, but like I've said before, these are complete pushovers, so why not just skip all that? Skip over the Magma hideout in Lily Cove, since there's no battle against Maxie to be had, in order to jump all the way to Moss Deep City, and the double battle against Tate and Liza for the 7th gym badge. Now for this battle, I just caught up Zigzagoon on the first route, and teaching Surf to Latias to just wipe the whole field. Though I did forget that this doesn't affect my ally Pokemon. Whoopsie! Zigzagoon dies to a Soul Rock Flamethrower as 2 Surfs manages to down said Soul Rock, bringing Lunatone down to low HP as Hypnosis connects, putting Latias to sleep but immediately waking up with the power of a Chesto Berry. Thankfully though, instead of prolonging this mess, after a full healing of Lunatone's HP, I'm able to get a critical with Surf, KOing and winning the match. Yeah, they really needed to have more than 2 Pokemon to make this fight even remotely interesting. Emerald certainly nailed that with Xatu and Claydol being added, but Claydol is still weak to Surf, and Xatu I could have just zapped with Thunderbolt, so we probably would have been in the same situation anyway. Seafloor Cavern time, and honestly, the fight with Maxie down here isn't all that difficult either thanks to Surf for the fire types, and literally any other move for the Psychic Immune Mightyena. Maxie leads with said Mightyena as I'm going for, instead of Surf, Dive, seeing as Latias is the only member of my team that can learn it, and I don't feel like getting more HM users. I'm already lugging around 2 of them, and I don't feel like grabbing any more. Dive ends up doing less than half to Mightyena, leading to a Super Potion that nearly fully heals him, but Thunderbolt does 80% to him next turn as Swagger lands and confuses Latias. Not a big deal, Thunderbolt number 2 lands anyway and KOs, leading to Crobat. Once again, I'm able to break through confusion after a wing attack lands, KOing with a Psychic as Camerupt is out last, falling to a single quad-effective critical dive after Latias gets out of confusion to win the fight. Easy as pie, can't go wrong. One global warming event later, and we're ready to take out Wallace. No Juan in here but us, if you will. Haha, Juan jokes. Wallace leads off with Love Disc, getting outsped by Latias and mollywopped with a Thunderbolt, as does Isilio out second to a critical to rub salt in the wound. Third is Milotic, and I'm pretty confident this is a 2-shot, taking a super effective Ice Beam for around a third, and sure enough, 2-shot. Fourth out is Whizcash, and I figure I can just outlast him with Wish and Psychic alternating, but Amnesia certainly does a number on my damage output. He's able to also set up Rain Dance here, eventually dishing out Water Pulse as I bring him into the red, and since he's at +4 special defense by this point, it leads to a Hyper Potion. So I've got to pound away with 4 more Psychics, is what I would say if there wasn't a second Hyper Potion. Eventually we get to the point where Water Pulse confuses, my held Person Berry activates to get me out of the bind, KOing with a critical Psychic. One that would have been much appreciated earlier in the fight instead of being the last possible Psychic. Well then, Last but not least is Seeking, who somehow survives the Thunderbolt to set up a Rain Dance, then gets the Swift Swim ability off to attack with Water Pulse on the following turn, but it's not enough as a second Thunderbolt sends Wallace packing, giving me the Rain Badge and 8 to complete the set. Now let's go test our undisputedly elite Red Dragon out there against the best in the world. Huh. Who knew I could fit so many wrestling references that are also applicable to Pokemon in the same sentence? One victory road later, and psych, we're not done quite yet. Wally's at the end just steps away from the exit, but we're well north of level 50, so this shouldn't be a problem for me. Wally's leading Altaria, but with a 9 level difference, I'm feeling confident in just blasting out 3 Calm Minds and calling it a sweep, as Altaria wastes time with Safeguard, Aerial Ace for minimal damage, and 1 Dragon Dance, as the team falls to Psychic on Altaria and Delcatty, Dive on Magneton, Psychic on Roselia, and last but not least, Thunderbolt on Gardevoir to win. They really did the correct move here in giving Wally Gallade in the remakes, since by that point the internet construed my mind into thinking that Wally had a mommy kink and Gardevoir was his way to vent it. Weird thoughts aside, but there's a very minimal prep time that I need for this league. Simply getting a few heart scales to relearn moves, and TMs at the ready, and we're good to go. Sydney's up first on the docket, and despite being a Dark-type user, thanks to him being first on the list, we have a nice level advantage. Calm Mind is able to be set up against Mightyena one time before I go ahead and use 5 Dragon Claws to sweep through it, Cacturn, Sharpedo, Absol, and Shiftry to win the fight. Honestly weird that he doesn't use Crawdon in order to have like a equal balance of 2 grass and 2 water types. It probably didn't come up to the developers' minds, but hey, my mind works in weird ways. Though I would have appreciated if the league members had a full team of 6 and that was the 6th Pokemon. Second up is Phoebe, and unlike the cool composition of Sydney's team, hers is a bit of a rehash of itself as Dusclops hits the field first, using Shadow Punch as I set up Calm Mind, blasting out a Psychic to KO it, Bayonet number 2, Dusclops number 2, oh wait, it survived and landed a Confuse Ray. Too bad a Person Bearer is going to negate that and I can KO with the second one, leaving just Sableye to fall to a Dragon Claw. Like I said, unfortunate composition of the team. Would have been better if it wasn't 2 of the same Mon twice, and instead had stuff like Gengar and Misdreavus, despite them not appearing here and are not in Mount Pyre either. I would have been fine with the Elite Four having Pokemon that you can't access, just so that they seem more elite than initially led on. Third up is Glacia, and she kinda suffers from the same problem. Too many of the same line of Pokemon, but instead of having 3 lines, she only has 2. Glalie up first, and despite hitting super effective Ice Beams, Latias is able to survive against 2 of them on half HP, using Recover to get back to full as I've already set up 2 Calm Minds during those turns. This leads to a Hail setup from Glalie, but from here I should be able to just sweep it +2. Sure enough, Dragon Claw is able to rip through Glalie and Celio, leading to me switching it up on Celio number 2 and using Psychic. Fourth out is Glalie number 2, which falls to Dragon Claw, leaving just Walrein to be the target of a Psychic, falling to the same fate as her fellow teammates. Jeez, 3 Pokemon at this field line is a bit much. Thank goodness Frostlass was given to her in the remakes. I don't know if it was because they were trying to avoid too much in common with Lorelei, given that Fire Red and Leaf Green were set to debut a year later, but I wouldn't have minded something like Piloswine or even a cast form to take one of those spots. Would have been cool to show the player, hey, you remember this Pokemon from the Weather Institute? It can transform into this form during the hail. Try it with other types of weather, but all of this is in hindsight. Last up is Drake, and as usual, I'm starting with Calm Mind, but apparently Shelgon's having an off day today as he doesn't go straight for Protect turn 1. Not expected. I don't think I've ever seen the Shelgon ever go for not Protect turn 1, instead using Dragon Claw, then using multiple Rock Tombs to slow Latias down. I probably should have just attacked after the first Calm Mind, seeing as Dragon Claw is super effective against his entire team, you know, Dragon types, but I wanted to keep using Calm Mind because I'm a dum-dum. So, despite the fact that I have to take attacks from everything due to being slower, I'm able to get by Shelgon, Flygon, Altaria, and Flygon number 2, all with over half HP, but Latias is paralyzed, and Sandstorm is up going into Salamence. Fortunately though, Salamence misses a Flamethrower, and I don't get held up with paralysis, KOing with a Dragon Claw to end the show. For a Dragon-type team, this was great, better than Lance using Aerodactyl and Charizard as well as 3 Dragonites. Though I would have preferred a Kingdra or maybe a single Dragonite in the place of a Shelgon, and one of the Flygons, but once again, we're nitpicking at this point. Alrighty, it comes down to Steven, but with one change to the moveset. I'm going with Surf over Psychic due to the Rock-type type advantage that I'm gonna have with it. But other than that, we should be completely fine. We've also got a Held Pecha Berry for his lead Skarmory, as it has Toxic, and I'd be able to get off a free Calm Mind if he goes for a turn 1. And if not, we can just keep going for it until said Toxic comes. Or better yet, let me test the waters with a Surf first. And this ends up being the better play, as one Calm Mind wouldn't have let me KO with Surf. Weirdly enough though, he just doesn't go for Toxic here. Instead, he just keeps alternating Spikes and Steel Wing, giving me the chance to set up a few Calm Minds against him, though the fact that he manages to hit 3 consecutive critical hits in a row with Steel Wing and Aerial Ace was a bit astounding to me, followed up by a 4th critical 2 turns later. 4 criticals in the span of 5 turns. What a freaking crazy turn of events. Thank goodness for Recover here, as it was a lifesaver because of all those critical hits. Once I'm at +6 though, I'm able to go Surf to one-shot Skarmory, Aggron, Praydilly with a neutral critical hit, Claydol, surprisingly enough Metagross, which I thought would survive even at this high of boosts, and Armaldo, winning the fight thanks to a complete and utter throwing by Steven due to his inability to use Toxic. If only he had started with Toxic, I would have had to set up those Calm Minds against an aggressive Aggron with Dragon Claw and Thunder, the latter of which would have thrown me for a loop, since if he had gotten the 30% chance of paralysis off, I probably would have been in a deep pickle. But hey, I can't complain, I won the run in a single attempt. However, I am interested in trying out Sapphire with Latios, just to see how much of a difference there is in terms of the boosted special defense versus the extra special attack. But you'll have to wait and see for that one to come out. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, once again I appreciate it if you dropped a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below with your favorite game in the Legendary you'd want to see me obliterate it with in a Hardcore Nuzlocke setting. And thank you if you noticed that my voice was a little bit weird during this video. I'm just coming off the back of strep throat, and it really sucks. My throat is kinda killing me as I'm saying the words I am right now, so let's just wrap it up. I've been ChaoticMeatball, and you guys stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.